In the bleak dusk of the far future, miracles are absent. Only openings for another kind of tyranny remain. Picture a world where the sacred Aquila of the Imperium is ripped from city gates, and overnight, a stylized sign of an alien empire takes its place. This is an imperial planet brought beneath the rule of the Toe. Its people once swore undying fealty to the god-emperor of mankind. Now they are summoned to serve a different master, the so-called greater good. What destiny lies before billions of souls lingering in the penumbra between human empire and alien ambition? This documentary follows the rise, transformation, and uncertain future of an imperial world under Tau rule. Prepare to see what truly becomes of a human world when the eagle yields to the Toe's twin-pointed sphere. The fall of an imperial world. It starts with trade agreements, a minor pact signed in the governor's palace. Almost hush-hush. Advanced medicines in exchange for ore shipments. Agricultural drones in return for a few rights of way. Harmless. No. The administratum might raise an eyebrow if it knew. But out here on the fringe, survival often trumps doctrine. So the governor and his advisors play a dangerous game. Just a bit of Xenote tech to help our crops. What's the harm? The Toe are patient. Over months and years, they win hearts and minds on this world. One transaction and one polite smile at a time. The Planetary Defense Forces commanders receive rangefinders and new rifles as samples. The workers see their infirmaries stocked with Tau medical kits. And every one of these gifts whispers the same seductive promise. Life under the Tau could be better than what the Imperium gives. But not everyone is entranced. In the shadows of the Mintorum churches, fiery preachers denounce the alien gifts as poisoned apples. The Imperial cult clergy, the Adeptus Mechanicus tech priests, the Adeptus Arbites judges, they all sense the change in the wind. They know these generous visitors are the vanguard of something that threatens the Emperor's absolute claim on this world. Tension rises. Whispers of heresy spread. Some locals begin to openly question why they send their sons off-world to die for distant terror, while blue-skinned diplomats stand in the capital promising peace and prosperity. Eventually, inevitably, the Imperium takes notice. Perhaps a zealous Inquisitor's informant reports unusual activity, or a routine astropathic message finally squeals through the warp to Sector Command. Xenos influence suspected on planet. The Imperium's response when it comes is characteristically uncompromising. Suddenly, the world finds a new fleet in its skies. Imperial warships translating from warp space with orders to snuff out any hint of Xenos meddling. This is when subtle diplomacy ends and open war begins. The Tau, however, have not been idle. By the time the Imperium moves to bring the world back into compliance, the planet's defenses are thoroughly compromised. Some regiments of the Planetary Defense Force, those same soldiers who benefited from Tau weapons and training, turn their coats. Factories scheduled to produce munitions for the Imperial Guard are sabotaged by workers now loyal to the idea of a better life with the Tau. Entire districts raise the flag of secession, refusing to heed the panicked edicts of the planetary governor, who, truth be told, may himself be contemplating a devil's bargain with the aliens. The war for the world's soul erupts. Loyalist PDF troops, and possibly a detachment of the Astra Militarum, or even Adeptus Artes, clash with separatists and sleek Tau battle suits on burning plains and bombed-out city blocks. Propaganda loudspeakers shout for the Emperor on one street, and around the corner drones broadcast calm-voiced Tau messages of unity, progress, and prosperity. People are torn in two, neighbor against neighbor. It's a short, savage conflict. Most are when the Tau are involved. The Tau strategy is not to meet the Imperium head-on in a protracted slugging match. They know that the Imperium can throw endless bodies into the meat grinder. Instead, the aliens play to their strengths, speed, precision, and shock. They strike key targets, orbital defense silos, command bunkers, communication nodes in lightning-fast assaults. Each strike leaves the defenders reeling and ever more leaderless. One by one, the symbols of Imperial authority on the planet fall. Perhaps it's the planetary governor's palace, breached by a team of Tau stealth battle suits, the governor himself captured while cowering behind his gold-embroidered desk. Perhaps it's the Cathedral of the Emperor Integral, the tallest spire in the capital, shattered by an orbital pinpoint strike, crashing down in a pile of rubble and pious art. Its fall, a literal and symbolic decapitation of imperial rule. The Adeptus Arbites precinct fortress might hold out for a time out of sheer stubbornness. its judges and enforcers making the Xenos pay for every corridor in blood. But ultimately they are isolated. No reinforcements are coming from Terrara in time, and they fall. Even Space Marines, if any were present, can only conduct a fighting withdrawal or a last stand. Adeptus Artes do not surrender, but they are too few to turn the tide alone. In one grim scenario, a squad of Ultramarines evacuates after extracting what relics they can, vowing to return with an entire chapter to avenge this loss. In another, perhaps more tragic, a small force of Space Marines refuses to retreat and is annihilated to the last man in a blaze of glory that becomes martyr's lore for the Imperium. Ultimately, the Imperial forces either retreat off-world or are destroyed. The Tau raise their banner in the capital plaza. This world, once a loyal vassal of the Imperium for millennia, has now officially joined the Tau Empire. The transition from one empire to another is complete on paper. But the real story is only beginning, because conquering a world is one thing. Holding and transforming it is quite another. The Tau understand this too. They know that taking possession of a planet full of humans doesn't mean those humans will instantly shed 10,000 years of Imperial indoctrination. The next phase is crucial to secure the peace and to reshape the world in the image of the greater good. And so, even as smoke still rises from the last battlefields, the wheels of a new society start turning. A new dawn, or just another night. Dawn breaks on the first day of Tau rule. The sun illuminates cities scarred by conflict. Streets strewn with burnt-out tanks bearing the Imperial Aquila and the occasional downed Tau battle suit amidst the rubble. Ordinary people poke their heads out of hab-block basements and makeshift shelters wondering what comes next. They expect retribution. After all, the Imperial way of war is merciless to the defeated. Will the Xenos now exact a bloody vengeance for the resistance offered? Will they purge the population to make a point? Many whisper prayers to the Emperor, still hoping he delivers them even now, though those prayers seem to fall on deaf ears. But instead of summary executions and mass graves, the people witness something unexpected. Restraint. Tau fire warriors patrol the streets with discipline and surprisingly little harassment of the locals. There are no wanted massacres, no wholesale looting or burning. This isn't the nightmare of a chaos invasion or an orc walk. It's something far more calculated. The Tau came to claim this world, not destroy it. After all, what use is a new world to the Empire if it's nothing but a carol house? Make no mistake, there are reprisals, but they are targeted. The former planetary governor, if he survived and was captured, is a prime example. If he actively resisted to the end, he's likely paraded briefly, a cautionary tale, and then dealt with, perhaps executed or sent off-world as a prisoner. If he secretly negotiated with the Tau at the 11th hour and facilitated the surrender of key facilities, he might actually find himself in a very strange second act of his career as a Tau-appointed administrator for the transition. A puppet essentially kept around for whatever useful knowledge or influence he still has, but always under the watch of a Tau advisor, likely a watercast official, or even an ethereal in high-profile cases. Imagine the indignity for a man who once held absolute power by the Emperor's mandate, now reduced to taking orders from an alien half his age and with a fraction of his pomp. It would be almost comical if lives and entire cultures weren't hanging in the balance. As for the Imperial institutions on the planet, the purge is methodical. The Adeptus Arbites, judges, and any remaining Inquisition agents are top priority for roundup. These figures embody Imperial law and will never accept Tau rule, so the Tau make sure they cannot organize any guerrilla resistance or assassinations. Many are killed in the fighting or executed shortly after, while a few might go underground to plan a futile insurgency. The Adeptus Mechanicus contingent, Magos, engine seers, tech priests tending the factories, faces a stark fate as well. In the eyes of the mechanicist who cooperate with Xenos' heresy of the highest order, they would sooner die than share sacred technology or serve aliens. And the Tau know the tech priests have the skills to sabotage planetary infrastructure if left to their own devices. So, Earthcast teams work quickly to secure manufacturia and factors, often politely but firmly disarming any scruples the human tech adepts have, or simply escorting them to detention. There are rumors that the Tau sometimes offer the Mechanicus personnel a deal. Help integrate the existing machinery into Tau systems, avoid bloodshed, maybe retire peacefully. It rarely works. The average tech priest would rather spit acid than let a Xenos interface with a holy Imperial plasma reactor. So unfortunately, many of these Red Road holdouts perish in accidents or resisting arrest. In the end, the great forges and power plants are claimed by the Earthcast, who marvel at how such crude if robust machines ever kept running with patchwork maintenance and latrines. The ecclesiarchy, the priests and bishops of the Imperial cult, are another matter entirely. They cannot be seen as martyrs. The last thing the TOE want is to ignite an endless spiritual rebellion. So the approach here is somewhat more nuanced. High-ranking clergy who fomented armed resistance often die in battle or are quietly executed soon after. Shot while attempting to flee, the report might say. But lesser clergy and the most popular preachers might be handled with kid gloves at first. The TOE are keenly aware that religion is a powerful opiate, perhaps more than they fully understand. Lacking religion themselves, the ethereals or the watercast might attempt a conciliatory tone, allowing the Imperial cult some continued existence under supervision, at least initially. For example, churches might remain open for a time, masses still held, but with any openly seditious sermons swiftly stopped. A savvy watercast governor might even reframe the Imperial faith in a way that's not overtly anti-Xenos. Surely your emperor would wish you to live in peace and prosperity, rather than die in pointless rebellion. Is he not a protector of humanity? We too protect you. Thus we serve his ultimate will. This sort of rhetorical tightrope is walked carefully. In some cases, it is astonishing but true. The worship of the Emperor is not immediately outlawed by the TOE, as long as it remains a private comfort and does not incite violence against the new order. It may be tolerated in the short term. The logic is simple. People ripped suddenly from their lifelong faith could become desperate and unmanageable. If letting them pray to their distant emperor at home keeps them docile, the TOE will swallow that annoyance for now. After all, the greater good can be patient. However, any priest who dares cry death to Xenos or urge the masses to resist is going to disappear faster than you can say heresy. Perhaps he's arrested and sent to a re-education camp to have his zeal quietly broken. Or perhaps if the TOE are feeling especially pragmatic, such a firebrand meets with an unfortunate accident on the very first night of the new regime. The message is clear. Spiritual rebellion will not be tolerated, but private faith, declawed and declawed of its anti-alien venom, might be left alone for now. Day by day, the ordinary citizens begin to notice changes in their world. At first, curfews are imposed to keep order. Armed drones hover over city blocks, their sleek lenses scanning for any signs of unrest. It's an eerie sight. Silent mechanical sentinels wear once clunky Imperial arbites. Patrol vehicles screech through the streets. Some citizens find it terrifying, others oddly relieving. At least those drones don't randomly beat us for fun, a cynical hab worker might mutter, recalling how some Imperial enforcers used to abuse their power. The TOE command takeovers extend to communications as well. Vox networks, picked screens, and news Voxcasters are now under watercast supervision. Instead of the usual Imperial broadcast of our brave soldiers fight and die for the Emperor on distant fronts, accompanied by approved sermons and piped hymns, people hear calm announcements. Attention citizens, by decree of the Provisional Governing Authority, all curfews will be lifted as of tomorrow 0700. Food and water distribution centers are set up in each district. Cooperation is the path to prosperity. The messages are delivered in a reassuring baritone, possibly even by a human voice known to the locals, perhaps a prominent PDF officer who sided with the TOE, now acting as the mouthpiece of the occupation. The media is being expertly used to shape perception. The war is over. Life is getting better. Don't resist, and it will improve more. And indeed, in a stroke of public relations genius, the TOE makes sure to show tangible improvements as quickly as possible. They aren't fools. They know bread and circuses can pacify as well as any gun. Within days, the Earthcast engineers are out on the streets alongside human technicians who are curious or opportunistic enough to cooperate. They start repairing what was damaged, and not just to the previous standard. No, they go further, rigging up clean energy generators where the old Prometheum reactors had blown out, installing water filtration units in districts where drinking water was a brown sludge, patching hab blocks, and even setting up new island lighting to replace the flickering ancient Lumog globes people had gotten used to. Imagine the stunned faces of residents in a Hive City habstack when overnight their communal drinking fountain, which had given rusty brackish water for decades, suddenly pumps out clear, cold, safe water. Thanks to a compact tow purifier humming away next to it. It feels like magic or a miracle. Some might even whisper that the Emperor has answered their prayers after all, not realizing to whom they truly owe this change. Perhaps one of the most iconic moments in this early transition is the dismantling of the Imperial icons. In the central square, a towering marble statue of the Emperor, you know the type, stern, patriarchal, one hand pointing to the horizon, the other clutching a massive sword, has stood for centuries. It's chipped and blackened from war, but still upright. On the third day of the new regime, Towel hovercraft and engineering crews come with cranes and cutting tools. A crowd gathers, tens of thousands of humans watching in weighted silence. They expect the statue to be smashed, toppled violently as a show of dominance. That's what they would have done to an enemy's idol, after all. But here the towel surprised them. The ethereal present floating slightly above the ground on his grav platform, robes flowing, gives a short speech about progress and unity carefully crafted not to overtly insult the Emperor. Then, with almost respectful procedure, the Earthcast operatives unlatch the statue from its base and lift it away. It's not shattered in front of the masses. It is instead quietly removed, taken into storage, as the official announcement goes. Storage repurposed. Who knows? Perhaps melted for marble and powdered gold. Perhaps kept in some vault as a curious relic. In its place, a new monument is prepared. Over following weeks, the plaza will see the erection of a new sculpture or display. Perhaps a sleek, holographic monument to the planet's liberation and unity under the greater good, or a statue of the ethereal who brokered the peace, arm outstretched in a welcoming pose. But that will come later. For now, the empty pedestal is symbolic enough. The old gods have gone, and the new have yet to fully settle, a moment of limbo in the world's identity. In those early days, the atmosphere is surreal and tense, but not uniformly grim. Many citizens are cautious, but cautiously optimistic. The war was short. Their city still stands. They have water and power again, and those fearsome toe soldiers mostly leave them alone unless they cause trouble. To a mother who just wants her children fed and safe, this feels like a strange sort of relief. To an underhive laborer who only knew fear under Imperial overseers, the absence of arbitrary cruelty is noticed. Perhaps he chuckles darkly with his mates that these fish-faced aliens seem downright polite compared to the old factory bosses. But for others, especially those who were privileged under Imperial rule, the new order heralds uncertainty or dread. The noble house patriarch, who enjoyed a direct line to the governor and exploitative contracts, now sees tower officials auditing the granaries and armories he controlled, and he breaks into cold sweat. The high-ranking cleric, who thundered from the pulpit about human destiny, finds himself muzzled and watched, fearing that every night might be the one a toe stealth team drags him from his bed for questioning. For them, this new dawn feels more like a twilight, life under the greater good. As weeks turn into months, the shock of regime change settles into the routine of occupation, or integration, as the Tau prefer to call it. The Tau Empire doesn't want this to feel like a planet under Butil, at least not overtly. They want it to feel like a province being welcomed into a greater nation. So they work hard to normalize things, to win the population's cooperation by carrot and stick alike. Let's delve into daily life now. How is it truly different from before? What subtle transformations seep into every aspect of society under the watchful gaze of the Toe governance and law? First, the planetary government gets a complete overhaul. The Imperium's bureaucracy, the local branch of the administratum, governor's court, etc., is mostly disbanded. In its stead, the Toe establish a new ruling council. Typically at the top is a Toe governor, often a watercast official skilled in administration and human relations. Sometimes an ethereal oversees from behind the scenes, especially in the critical initial years. Though ethereals prefer to remain somewhat aloof, more religious figureheads than pencil pushers. Directly under the Toe governor, there may be a council of human advisors. Yes, humans. These tend to be influential locals who early on pledged loyalty to the Toe Empire. Perhaps a few PDF generals who defected, a prominent city mayor, an industrial magnate who always chafed under Imperial tithes and now sees profit in siding with the new masters. These individuals are often trotted out as proof that, See, we're letting you govern yourselves under our guidance. It's a classic collaborationist government. It has just enough local face to make people think they have a say, but everyone knows where the real power sits. With the Toe overseers, laws are rewritten swiftly. All imperial decrees and edicts are nullified. No more are things like no tolerance for mutants or mandated observance of Saints' Day in effect. Instead, new laws emphasize order, productivity, and unity. Curfews might be lifted once things are stable, replaced by softer but ubiquitous surveillance to keep the peace. Crime, ironically, is initially low, partly because everyone is on their best behavior, partly because many gang leaders and thugs were killed in the upheaval or fled, and partly because the tow drones and patrols respond to incidents with startling efficiency. The old underworld hasn't had time to adapt yet, and the new authorities neither accept bribes nor issue them. A pickpocket is more likely to be gently stunned by a drone-mounted taser, and then given a stern talking to about communal responsibility, than he is to have his hand amputated or be bludgeoned by a brutish arbitrator. This is a different style of rule indeed. One curious development language. High Gothic and Low Gothic, the languages of the Imperium, are of course still spoken by everyone, including the Toau interpreters. The Toau make no move to outlaw the human tongue. That would be foolish. However, you start to see Tau script appearing alongside Gothic on public notices and building signage. Maybe the street signs in the capital now have the city name in the angular Tau alphabet under the old letters, as if subtly saying this is a Tau city now. Government proclamations might be issued bilingually, and schools, we'll get to those soon, begin teaching basic Tau lexicon to children. Over time, the goal is clear. Bilingual society that can eventually tilt towards primarily speaking the language of the greater good. It's soft power at its finest. Win them through words and culture, not just guns. After all, if in a generation the people speak Tau fluently, they'll think in Tau concepts too. One might hear a factory foreman barking orders in Gothic one shift and slipping into Tow the next to impress his overseer. New idioms creep in. People start saying by the greater good as an exclamation instead of throne, short for by the throne of terror. At least those who want to seem with the program. Economic changes under the Imperium. Most worlds endure heavy tithes. A set portion of their products, be it manufactured goods, minerals, or manpower, shipped off-world to fuel the greater Imperial war machine. It's an immense burden. Our world was no different. Its people were used to quotas that left them just enough to survive. Under Tau rule, the economic model shifts. The Tau Empire certainly expects this world to contribute to the Empire's needs. There's no free lunch in any Empire, human or alien, but they take a more balanced approach, at least ostensibly. The Tau conduct a thorough survey of the planet's resources and productive capacities. Earthcast technicians and watercast economists analyze everything. How many tons of ore can be refined? How many acres are arable? What the workforce skill levels are. Then they reorganize production with an eye for efficiency and mutual benefit. That mining operation that used to send 90% of its yield off-world to the Imperial Forge world, leaving the locals to scrabble over the remaining 10% might now be re-geared to send, say, 60% to the Tau Sept worlds to support the Empire's needs, while 40% stays on the planet for local development. Why the change? Because the Tau genuinely want their new possession to prosper. A prosperous planet produces more in the long run and is a happier, less rebellious one. So more raw material is allowed to remain and be turned into finished goods locally. The people might notice new workshops opening, making consumer goods or farming tools with those resources that previously would have been whisked away. Jobs expand. Wages, a concept that was often meaningless under the Imperium's drudgery economy, might actually increase modestly, or at least hold value since the Tow carefully managed supply chains to avoid the absurd shortages that Imperial bureaucratic mismanagement often caused. Trade is introduced as well. This world isn't isolated anymore. It's integrated into the Tau Empire's trade network. Merchants, human and Tau, begin to arrive. You see Vespid traders buzzing in markets, selling sparkling crystals from the nebula they come from, or lanky Cruit offering exotic animal pelts and strange meats to the disgust or fascination of locals. Likewise, the planet exports its own specialties in exchange for things unimaginable before. Perhaps efficient agri-harvesters, hollow entertainment devices, even simple luxury items like flavorful alien fruits, all imported through Towel commerce. After ages of scarcity and monotony, new goods flood the stalls. People line up with ration chits converted to a new currency. The Tau might introduce a credit or script to try these off-world products. It's dazzling consumer seduction, one might say. The message is implicit. See what the greater good brings you. See how your life can improve materially. Technology and infrastructure. This might be where everyday folks see the most obvious change, and one reason many grudgingly decide these blue fellas ain't so bad. The Imperium's technology, while powerful, is stagnant and often doled out only to the military or upper classes. Your average citizen might never handle anything more advanced than a rusty autocarbine or a Vox unit that's older than his grandfather. The Tau, by contrast, are tech enthusiasts. They won't hand out top-of-the-line gear to just anyone, of course, but they implement many infrastructure upgrades as part of integration. We've mentioned clean water and power distribution improving. Additionally, transportation networks get a facelift. Old combustion engine ground cars are replaced or supplemented by anti-grav skimmers for public transit in the cities. Imagine you used to cram into an old Prometheum belching hopper to get to the factory, but now a sleek humming skimmer bus glides up to the hab block, efficiently fing workers across town on schedule. It might be jarring at first. Who trusts a machine with no wheels and no obvious driver? But soon it's the new normal. Roadways are cleared of military checkpoints. No more arbitrators demanding identification papers at every district border. Instead, maybe there are drone checkpoints that scan your biometric ID as you pass. If you're a law-abiding citizen, you never even notice them beyond a blue light flickering as you walk by. In the farming areas, the Earthcast introduces mechanized agro drones to till and sow, meaning the backbreaking labor of serfs is alleviated. Now, one drone overseen by a single human can plow a field in an hour that used to take 50 laborers all day. What do those other 49 laborers do now? Initially, that might seem a problem, and there is some displacement, but the Tau administration actively reassigns or retrains people. Those redundant farmhands might be offered a chance to join local auxiliary units or to work on new construction projects. Building the Montiva Cultural Center, perhaps named after the greater good in Tau, as a new community hub where indoctrination and cultural exchange can happen. Basically, the Tau strive to avoid creating masses of unemployed, bored citizens that leads to unrest. So they keep everyone busy with the grand project of improving our world. For the first time in living memory, a significant number of common folk have leisure time and improved living standards. It's modest, of course. We're not talking paradise, but going from constant drudgery and fear under the Imperium to having an extra meal on the table and maybe an afternoon off on Saints. Oops, those aren't celebrated anymore. Let's say on Unity Day. Well, that's a big change in perspective for many. Some older citizens shake their heads and mutter, "It's unnatural." They're waiting for the other shoe to drop. But their grandchildren laugh and enjoy their mysterious toe candies, blissfully unconcerned with the old ways, social changes, and education. Perhaps the most profound transformation and the subtlest comes in the realm of hearts and minds. The Tau call it the indoctrination of the greater good, and they execute it carefully. They know they cannot simply decree everyone to be model Tau citizens overnight. Instead, they focus on the next generation and the malleable members of the current one. Schools are a major target under the Imperium. Education for the masses often consisted of rote learning of Imperial catechisms, basic labor skills, and plenty of propaganda about the Emperor's glory. On this world, as soon as stability returns, the Tau establish new educational programs. Often they repurpose the existing Skolem schools, but with a revised curriculum. Human teachers who are willing to cooperate are retrained. Those who resist are quietly replaced by teachers loyal to the Tau, either other humans who have converted to the greater good philosophy or even watercast instructors for higher levels. Children begin each school day not with a prayer to the Emperor that's been quietly removed, but perhaps with a pledge to unity or a moment of contemplating the greater good. They learn history, a new history that casts the Tau Empire in a favorable light. Their old textbooks full of imperial heroism are replaced with materials that, for example, describe how various species, including humans, live in harmony under Tau guidance. The textbook might still mention the Emperor, but as a historical figure, a powerful leader of the past who, it is implied, would have surely approved of the noble goals of cooperation had he been less misguided. This infuriates any Imperial loyalist adult who hears it, but those folks aren't invited to curriculum planning sessions. Kids also learn the basics of Tau language, as noted, and toe measurements, timekeeping. The Tau have their own calendar and clocks, though likely the planet keeps using human 24-hour days if that's its cycle. However, the concept of a local year might be integrated with a toe date line for empire-wide reference. They are taught science and tech more openly than imperial edicts usually allow. The Tau aren't afraid of knowledge per se. They fear misuse. But a populace that can maintain a drone or medkit is useful. In short, the youth are being shaped to become loyal Gue'vesa, the Tau word for human helpers, Dart's allies. This doesn't mean it's all brainwashing in classrooms. There are also community events, orchestrated cultural exchanges. The Tau might host a grand exhibition in the capital, the Commonwealth of the Greater Good Fair, where humans can come and see displays about the different member species of the Empire. Taste alien foods. Watch a choreographed display of Tau warriors demonstrating their martial arts, with an ethereal present, nodding sagely at the unity of species. It's half propaganda, half genuine attempt at multicultural introduction. For a society that was told all aliens are monsters, this is bewildering. Some folks walk through the exhibition hall in amazement. A worker points at a Kroot Shaper, a tall Avan reptilian mercenary, demonstrating tracking skills, and says, "I once heard those things eat people. Now it's teaching us how it follows prey through woods." A bright-eyed child might pet a reptilian crude hound at a supervised petting corner, giggling at the creature that would have given her grandmother a heart attack to see stalking the wilds. These little things slowly chip away at the ingrained xenophobia of imperial culture. The message, not all Xenos are your enemies. In fact, they can be friends, colleagues, even protectors, health and welfare. The average imperial citizen under the old regime had essentially no safety net. Medical care was minimal unless you were rich or in the military. And even then, the Medicaid might just give you a shot of painkiller and bionic stump if you lost a limb. The Tau, as part of their charm offensive, deploy medical drones and clinicians to address the most pressing health issues. Hospitals are refurbished. Tau medics from the Earthcast, maybe, with some empathetic Watercast bedside manners, begin treating lingering diseases for free. Vaccination drives nutritional supplements. It's almost like a humanitarian campaign. It is one, though not purely out of altruism. A healthier workforce is a more productive workforce. And a population that sees the Tau curing their sick will be far less eager to see them as villains. A mother watches as her sick infant, who would have died under the apothecary's leechcraft before, now recovers because a floating drone administered some high-tech antiviral. How fiercely will that mother now reject the calls of a hidden imperial preacher who tells her these aliens are evil? The evidence of her own eyes and heart weigh against the old hatred, religion and culture. Over these months, the imperial cult's presence diminishes. Fewer sermons, more community gatherings orchestrated by the Watercast. Some truly devout families keep tiny shrines to the Emperor in their homes, lighting a candle behind drawn shutters. For now, the Tau don't knock down your door for that. But what they do is introduce alternatives. They promote civic events on days that used to be Imperial Saints' feast days, where once everyone had to attend the local chapel of St. Dominica on a certain day. Now there's a big festival of unity in the park with free food and towel fireworks. They love their drone displays. The kids drag their parents along, and wouldn't you know it, they ended up skipping the old religious observance. With each generation, the grip of the ecclesiarchy loosens. There are even instances where cunning Watercast propagandists co-opt imperial symbols cleverly. Perhaps a pamphlet circulating that shows an image of the God Emperor, an all-too-familiar robed figure on a golden throne with a halo that subtly blends into the Tau symbol behind him, accompanied by a quote like, "All wise leaders desire the prosperity of their people," attributed, of course, to some appropriate source. The suggestion sinks in. Service to the Tau Empire and its greater good could be interpreted as being in line with the Emperor's will for mankind's happiness. It's a blasphemous spin, but to a population in cognitive dissonance, it provides a comforting bridge. You're not betraying your Emperor. You're just achieving his dream for you by different means. Friend or foe, the human element. With the passage of time, society stratifies under Tau rule into broadly three groups among the human populace. The collaborators, the compliant, and the quiet resistors. Each group experiences the new order in very different ways. The collaborators are those humans who have thrown themselves wholeheartedly into serving the Tau Empire. They are often the ones with the most to gain, or those who early on decided to switch sides to save their skins. Many PDFs, Planetary Defense Force officers and Imperial officials who survived the conquest, fall into this category. Some do it cynically for power or rewards, but a surprising number truly drink the Kool-Aid of the greater good. They come to believe that this alliance is not only beneficial but morally right. They see the improvements around them and conclude the TOE delivered on what they promised. Perhaps their philosophy is genuinely better for humanity than the Imperium's cruelty. These collaborators become the bureaucrats and enforcers of the new regime. Picture a former PDF colonel once proud to serve the Emperor, now wearing a new uniform bearing a blue TOE symbol on the shoulder. He's in charge of a mixed security force of TOE and human auxiliaries, keeping order in the very hablocks he swore to defend as an Imperial officer. He justifies it to himself. My duty is still to protect these people just under a new banner. When a riot flares up in the workers' district, perhaps incited by a hidden cell of Imperial loyalists, spreading rumors that the water filters are actually poison, this colonel is the one who coordinates the response. He uses pacification drones and stun carbines containing the unrest with minimal bloodshed. Afterward, he addresses the crowd with a megaphone, urging calm, extolling how much their lives have improved. In that moment, he certainly doesn't feel like a villain. In fact, in his mind, the rioters screaming to bring back the old days are the villains trying to drag everyone back into misery and war. Collaborators also include intellectuals and professionals who see opportunities. The chief medic of the capital's main hospital might have been a secret skeptic of the Imperium's backward ways. Now with TOE medicine at her fingertips, she's practically giddy at what she can do. She becomes an advocate for the new system. They let me save lives I'd otherwise lose. How could I not support them? Some collaborators go to even greater lengths to prove loyalty. There are accounts of human officials voluntarily adopting TOE customs, wearing TOE-style tunics instead of Imperial dress, learning to speak in the TOE tongue when dealing with their overlords, even altering their appearance. It's not unheard of for zealous human converts to shave their heads, if not already shaved by war, and paint or tattoo the TOE Empire symbol or some inspirational TOE words onto their skin. A few go so far as to use cosmetic implants to appear more acceptable. For example, one propagandist story tells of a clerical scribe who had a small circular emblem embedded in his forehead to mimic the ethereal's brow crest. A misguided gesture, as it earned him more amused pity from the TOE than respect. But such is the fervor of the converted. They become more TOE than the TOE, at least in their own minds. However, not even the most sycophantic collaborator can escape a certain glass ceiling in this new society. The TOE are grateful for help and will reward it up to a point. High positions in local administration, yes. Comfortable lifestyles, yes. But true power remains with the TOE themselves. No human collaborator is going to be made planetary governor over a TOE. No human will join the Ethereal Council or dictate empire-wide policy. The TOE keep the ultimate authority firmly in their own hands. Collaborators thus serve an important role, but always just shy of equality. If any human in the new regime starts to really get ambitions, say a charismatic militia leader gaining a personal following, the TOE will gently, or not so gently, put them back in their place. Perhaps a reassignment off-world flattering them. We need your talents elsewhere, far away. How fortunate. Or an unfortunate lethal accident if they pose a threat. This seldom needs to happen, though, as most collaborators understand the unspoken rules. Be useful, be loyal, but don't overstep. The second major group, the compliant, makes up most of the population. They aren't passionate supporters, but neither are they active rebels. These are ordinary citizens who, when confronted with sweeping change, choose the path of least resistance, adaptation. Some accept it begrudgingly, others with mild contentment, but for the most part, they simply carry on with their lives under the new order. They continue their work, perhaps in slightly better conditions, raise their families, and obey laws that, for a peaceful person, may interfere far less than those of the Imperium once did. Under Imperial rule, the average citizen constantly had to display loyalty, attend rites, avoid heretical speech, and live in fear of random persecution. Under the TOE, an ordinary person who works diligently and avoids trouble is generally left alone, or even aided. Many among the compliant find this strange new freedom comforting. Consider Joran, a middle-aged factory worker. During the Imperium's reign, He toiled through 14-hour shifts, stamping shell casings with the Emperor's sigil. He was paid in script barely worth half a loaf of synth bread and had to bribe an official to get medicine for his ailing wife. He cursed his life in silence, fearful of punishment. Under Tau administration, his factory has been converted to produce agricultural machinery parts, still laborious, but safer than munitions work. His shifts are now 10 hours, with a proper meal break, after the Tau discovered productivity improved when workers were allowed rest. Imagine that. He earns a modest yet fair wage in the new currency, enough to buy a full loaf of real bread and even some off-world fruit. His wife received treatment at a new clinic and is recovering. Joran no longer has to sit through a single war sermon if he doesn't wish to. He doesn't claim love for the Tau Empire. But when his brother-in-law, a former Arbeit trooper stripped of rank, grumbles about alien overlords, Joran merely shrugs and says, "My life's gotten better. So what if they're Xenos? Let's not make trouble." Joran represents the silent majority. As long as the Tau provides stability and food, he sees no reason to resist. In fact, he might even defend them in idle conversation to avoid a return to chaos. The quiet resistors, however, share none of this acceptance. This group includes those who cannot, for any reason, embrace the new regime. Many come from the old Imperial elite, clergy, loyalist officers, noble families stripped of influence. Others are devout patriots or zealots who feel the shame of humanity bowing before aliens. Beneath the calm surface, they keep the old faith alive. They form secret gatherings and resistance cells, whispering prayers to the Emperor in forgotten catacombs, plotting sabotage and revolt. In the early months after the conquest, these resistors are scattered and hunted. The Tower intelligence networks, assisted by the watercast, patient aircasters and surveillance drones, track down obvious dissidents. Some whisper of dark Eldar mercenaries or other spies aiding the hunt when the Tau grow desperate, though they generally rely on their own means. Still, remnants persist, a few ex-guardsmen hiding in the hills, striking Tau patrols by night. A fervent preacher in the underhive tending to the poor and spreading hope of the Emperor's return. Perhaps even an inquisitor moving unseen in the shadows. That, above all, is what the Tau leaders truly dread. If an Imperial inquisitor remained behind or infiltrated the world in disguise, they might be secretly rallying an underground resistance, or worse, summoning aid from beyond the stars. Occasionally, these resistors attempt bold actions, planting a bomb during the new collaborationist governor's inauguration, or smuggling a voxcaster to broadcast a call for rebellion. Such efforts rarely succeed. The Tau's countermeasures are efficient and unforgiving. When these incidents occur, the mask of benevolence slips, revealing the regime's true severity. Publicly, the Tau condemn such acts as senseless violence fueled by those clinging to a bygone age. They portray the insurgents as selfish malcontents endangering peace. Then quietly or decisively they eliminate them. Sometimes it's a pitched battle, rebels cornered and executed. Other times it's a silent midnight raid, targets vanish, leaving no trace. Among the populace, an unsettling phrase circulates, allegedly quoting a Tau official on dissidents. Such guas simply disappear, and it is the way of the greater good to believe they never existed. In this manner, the regime erases them completely, records purged, memories blurred by propaganda, until even neighbors forget who once lived next door. Subtle tyranny at its most refined. One chilling account stands out. On a certain colony under Tau rule, a rebel cell attempted to sabotage a shield generator. They were captured. The next morning, the city awoke to find bodies in the main square, Imperial uniforms hanging from gibbets as a stark warning. A watercast mediator calmly addressed the crowd, explaining that these traitors to the greater good had endangered everyone's safety, and justice had been served. The scene was brutal, almost medieval. You'd think the Tau beyond such barbarism, but they calculated that a flash of primal fear would deter more effectively than any speech. By the next day, the bodies were gone, life resumed, but an unease lingered behind every polite smile. Still, the Tau prefer subtler means when possible. Most captured resistors are taken to re-education centers, ominous places repurposed from old Imperial prisons or built anew. There, the water and earth castes employ psychological conditioning and indoctrination. Subjects endure endless lectures on the greater good, participate in group exercises promoting collective identity, and sometimes face far more invasive treatments. Rumors never confirmed speak of pheromonal influence from ethereals or neural implants that suppress defiance. Even Commander Farsight once discovered mind control implants used on Toe themselves. Perhaps similar methods are tested on humans to ensure obedience. A die-hard Imperial loyalist might spend months in such a facility, emerging with the fire in his eyes extinguished, replaced by placid acceptance. Brainwashed or enlightened, depending on perspective. His neighbors note he no longer attends secret Emperor vigils, but volunteers at the community farm, humming alien songs. Disturbing, yet for the Toe, it's a triumph, the greater good reclaiming a lost soul. Now we turn to the Gue'vesa, humans who bear arms for the Tau. No study of a human world under their rule is complete without them. To the Imperium, these are traitors. To the Tau, they are helpers, human auxiliaries. Their existence highlights the vast ideological divide. The Imperium forbids alliance with aliens, branding any human who serves them as a heretic. The Tau, by contrast, embrace integration, eager to fold other species into their empire. On our hypothetical world, recruitment began almost immediately after the fighting ceased. Many planetary defense troops surrendered en masse. Rather than imprison them, the Tau offered a new purpose. After careful vetting to remove zealots, they reorganized these soldiers into auxiliary regiments under Tau command. The offer came with both reward and threat. Serve the greater good and retain your status, or refuse and face labor camps or worse. Most chose service, if only for survival. Those who accepted were retrained and often sent off-world to academies like the one on Sata, a Tau Sept world dedicated to human auxiliaries. There, recruits were exposed to the Empire's might, vast cities, advanced weaponry, and the sense that the Tau were here to stay. Many found the idea of joining them appealing. Training combined military drills with philosophy, teaching that they now fought not for a single world, but for a shared future. The message, fight for peace and unity, proved intoxicating compared to the Imperium's harsh, die for the Emperor. Some Gue'vesa units went on to fight in Tau campaigns, earning renown. Propaganda celebrated them, heroes defending colonies, suppressing Orc raiders, or bringing order to new worlds. The media proudly displayed their victories, proof that humans and Tau could fight side by side. Youths grew up idolizing them, not space marines, but local soldiers, fighting for a new ideal. Yet beneath the glory, complexity persisted. Gue'vesa soldiers received decent gear, improved laser guns, upgraded armor, and drones for support, but always under Tau oversight. They filled roles between alien auxiliaries and fire warriors, often serving in policing or garrison duties, where human familiarity eased relations with civilians. Locals even found comfort seeing one of their own in uniform, a friendly face enforcing order. The Tau exploited this dynamic skillfully, but loyalty had its cost. When ordered to raid a secret shrine or arrest a loyalist neighbor, these same auxiliaries became tools of repression. Some wrestled with guilt, torn between duty and humanity. One might imagine a Gue'vesa corporal discovering that a slain rebel was his childhood friend, a moment of grief hidden. Beneath a freshly painted blue helmet, the color of fidelity, masking guilt with renewed zeal. Such inner conflicts are why the ethereals keep close watch on Gue'vesa morale. Wavering units are swiftly reorganized or reindoctrinated. A few humans even rise to modest rank, commanding battalions or patrol ships, but never ascend into the sacred castes. The ceiling remains firm, though the Tau call it natural order. Population balance presents another challenge. Human worlds vastly outnumber the Tau by population. A single hive city may hold billions. The ethereals know unchecked growth could tip the scales, so subtle population controls are introduced. Propaganda favoring small families, incentives for one child, and easy access to birth control. Some worlds whisper darker rumors, sterilizations disguised as vaccines or relocations of surplus populations never seen again. Officially denied, these tales persist. Equally troubling is the issue of psychers, humans born with warp-touched powers. In the Imperium, they'd be seized by the black ships. Under the Tau, no such system exists. The Tau fear the warp yet barely understand it. Some suspect they quietly remove psychers, perhaps with aid from psychic allies like the Nikasar. A family's gifted child might simply vanish one night, taken for everyone's safety, their parents silenced with threats or counseling. Publicly, such things are never acknowledged. Chaos and mutation, the propaganda insists, belong to the Imperium, not the enlightened Tau realm. But reality is less comforting. The warp respects no borders, and the Tau will use any measure, no matter how grim, to keep it at bay, always with a gentle smile. Through all this looms the shadow of the Imperium. What happens when it returns? The Imperium never forgets. Every lost world marks a wound to be avenged. It might take decades or centuries, but retribution will come. For those living under the Tau, the thought is both hope and terror. History offers grim lessons. When the Imperium reclaims a tainted world, its vengeance is biblical. Collaborators executed, cities purged, sometimes entire populations burned to ash in cleansing. Thus, many under Tau rule now fear Imperial salvation more than alien rule. The new government plays upon this fear, reminding citizens that the Imperium would destroy them for surviving. We protect you, they say. And in a cruel twist, it's not entirely false. When Imperial fleets draw near, the Tau prepare, fortifying defenses, arming humans, and urging them to fight for their homes against the Emperor's wrath. If war comes, tragedy follows. Cities rebuilt under Tau care reduced again to ruins. Families divided, brother a guardsman invading, sister a Gue'vesa defending. Should the Tau repel the assault, their bond with humanity strengthens through shared blood. But if the Imperium triumphs, the end is merciless. Survivors are branded heretics, purged or enslaved. Some worlds are simply wiped clean by exterminatus, burned to cinders in the Emperor's name. All progress, all fragile peace, gone in flame. The Imperium calls it salvation. The Tau call it barbarism. For the people caught between, it's simply the end. Thus hangs the Damocles blade, fitting as the region where Tau and Imperium first clashed bears that very name. Beneath its shadow, every human world under the greater good lives in fragile, uneasy balance torn between two tyrannies, each claiming to be salvation, viewed as a whole. The fate of an Imperial world under Tau rule is one of profound transformation, an evolution of not only its infrastructure and government, but its very identity. Over years and generations, human society reshapes itself to align with an alien philosophy. This process is slow, layered with contradictions. Paradoxically, many citizens may grow happier and safer, even as they surrender irreplaceable pieces of culture and autonomy. The Imperium demanded devotion to the Emperor, bringing purpose through suffering. The Tau offer purpose through the greater good, relieving pain until that purpose is questioned. When their gentle hand tightens into a fist as merciless as the Imperium's, cultural hybridization becomes inevitable. Within decades, new customs emerge, humans celebrating Tau holidays like Unity Day, complete with lights and feasts to mark their liberation. Old traditions survive in muted forms. The Emperor's birthday becomes a memorial day, stripped of faith but permitted as history. Language shifts too. Tau phrases pepper human speech. Fashion blends utilitarian Tau design with human flair, creating a new Gue'vesa chic. Friendships form across species, and occasionally, so do deeper bonds, proof of how proximity and shared lives blur boundaries. Still, limits persist. No human enters the upper castes. They remain subjects, never equals. The Tau see humans as gifted yet volatile, a people to be guided. They believe themselves benevolent mentors, yet that same guidance becomes paternal control. Across the galaxy, other species view these worlds with mixed feelings. Eldar may sneer that humans have become pets, while some Farseers quietly approve, preferring the Tau's order to Chaos's corruption. Even the Chaos gods find less fertile ground here. Well-fed, contented citizens are harder to tempt. Ironically, the Tau's secular governance shields humanity from the very darkness the Imperium so violently fights. But if chaos does take root, the Tau are unprepared to face it, a lurking danger for all. Such a world becomes fertile ground for countless stories. A Gue'vesa detective racing to stop a chaos cult before the ethereal orders a purge. A tragic love between a human and a Vespid translator. A conflicted guard, torn between protecting his alien mentor or freeing his people with an assassin's bullet. A world under Tau rule exists at the intersection of ideologies and species, where every moral choice carries weight. And so, what is the ultimate fate of such a world? It cannot be wrapped neatly. Some thrive for generations, their citizens genuinely prospering. The Tau point to them as proof that the greater good can uplift even the once benighted worlds of man. Hunger vanishes, knowledge spreads, fear fades. Were they isolated, they might evolve into true hybrid civilizations, bridges between empires. But isolation is impossible in the galaxy of the 41st millennium, where war is eternal. Their success paints a target on them. Some fall to Imperial reconquest, their hopes drowned in blood. Others crumble to chaos or are obliterated by both sides, united only in horror. A few endure quietly, hidden at the edge of the stars, surviving as long as greater powers ignore them. For the individuals who live there, change is deeply personal. A grandfather tells his grandson about the Emperor's harsh rule, stories the boy can scarcely believe. A former guardswoman turned Gue'vesa now trains troops to repel the same Imperials she once served. Hero or traitor, history's answer depends entirely on who survives to write it. In a forgotten corner of a museum, the old statue of the Emperor lies covered by a tarp. A human worker pauses before it, moved by something ancient and unspoken, then lets it rest in quiet obscurity. The old faith does not always die in fire. It fades in silence. As the camera pans to the night sky, 2 moons hang above a tranquil city. Somewhere, Imperial fleets gather, plotting vengeance. On a distant station, a Tau ethereal gazes down, believing he has brought light to these humans. Both think themselves saviors. Both believe their cause just. And below them, the people only wish to live in peace, forging a fragile coexistence between 2 empires. In the end, an Imperial world under Tau rule is a paradox, a place where humanity's suffering gives way to calculated mercy, where tyranny is traded for paternal enlightenment. Whether that promise is truth or another illusion, only time will tell. Between the Emperor's relentless gaze and the ethereal's guiding hand, these worlds endure, daring to believe that something better than endless war might yet be possible. For now they have peace, fragile, imperfect, and priceless. How long it lasts is written in the stars. This is the story of an Imperial world under Tau rule, a tale still unfolding, suspended between shadow and hope, beneath the eternal night of a war-torn galaxy.